In this week's Torah portion, we are introduced to the famous Moses, and we learn incredible lessons from him from the very beginning of his life. Let's explore those lessons and see how we can bring them into our own lives. Shalom, my friends. It's the Kiva Gurs with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. We're beginning a new book of the Hebrew Bible, the second book, the book of Exodus. Very exciting. And the children of Israel have all come down to the land of Israel. They're all there. None of them are left in the land of Israel. We know that Jacob came down, all the 12 sons, all the children came down, and eventually Jacob passes away. Joseph passes away, as does all the brothers. And now the next generation is leading the way, and they're in the land of Egypt, and we know right away they're enslaved. They are brought into servitude. And within the context of the servitude, we're introduced to the birth of Moses. And Moses, of course, becomes the greatest leader of all time for the Jewish people. And of course, he will be the one to be chosen by God to lead the Jewish people out of Egypt through the desert for 40 years and into the land of Israel for the very first time. Of course, he doesn't go into the land of Israel himself. That's another story for another week. But what we do see from the very beginning of the Hebrew Bible telling us about Moses is very, very interesting, fascinating, and it could help us become even better people in our own lives. So let's explore this. What do we see? We learn in this week's Torah portion that Moses was being raised in the palace, right? Because there was a decree against the sons that were born to Jewish wives that they would be thrown into the Nile, that they would be killed. And Moses' mother saved him, put him in a basket on the Nile River, and he was found by the daughter of Pharaoh. And the daughter of Pharaoh takes him into the palace and raises him there. And Moses, a Jew, an Israelite, is raised in the palace. But it's an amazing thing because the Torah in this week's Torah portion tells us that he didn't forget his roots. He knew who he was and he knew who he was connected to. And he knew his people were the ones being enslaved in Egypt. And the Torah portion tells us that he goes out of the palace to check on his brothers, to check on them, to see how they're doing, because he knew, first of all, that they were his brothers, that these are the people that he belongs to, even though he was being raised in the fancy lifestyle of the palace and easily could have forgotten his roots, easily could have forgotten who he was and where he comes from. He didn't. And that's such an important lesson for all of us to know who we are, where we come from, our stories, our roots, our connections, our traditions, our people's story, right? Knowing who we are and where we come from is such an essential thing to be a healthy and happy human. So he knows who he is and where he comes from. He goes to check on his brothers to see their situation. And when he does, he sees an Egyptian beating an Israelite servant. And Moses says, "That's not okay. You can't do that, right? These are my people, and even if they weren't, that's just wrong, right? That's unjust. That's unjust." And so what does he do? He kills the Egyptian, and he gets involved. He sees somebody oppressing another, and he gets involved, right? Shortly after the very next story we learn, immediately after, two Israelites are fighting, and he gets involved there as well, trying to make peace, right? No, brothers, what's going on? We're brothers. Let's talk this out. Let's see how we can find peace between us. That's another example of Moses getting involved when something was happening that he believed shouldn't and could be improved. And then he runs away because Pharaoh finds out that he killed the Egyptian, and he finds himself at a well where there are the seven daughters of Jethro who are coming to water his flock, and the men who are at the well start harassing them, and Moses gets involved as well, right? And he brings peace and he helps out the daughters of Jethro. Okay. And these three incidents, which happen one right after the other in this week's Torah portion, show us right away who Moses is. Moses is a guy who gets involved. Moses is a guy who, if he sees something wrong, he's gonna do what he can to correct it. If he sees injustice, he's going to fix it. And he gets involved when let's be honest, a non-Israelite oppresses an Israelite, when two Israelites are fighting each other, and when a non-Israelite is harassing a non-Israelite. For him, it doesn't matter who you are, what tribe you belong to, what people you're a part of. If there's something unjust happening, he's going to get involved. And that is why God chooses him. God chooses him exactly for that quality, for that character trait. That's the kind of person that God wants to lead his people in general, and specifically lead his people out of Egypt, out of slavery. This is an incredible lesson for us in our own lives, right? Not to be, bystanders, not to be people that see something but don't do anything, right? If we see something, we see something is wrong, we have an obligation, we have a responsibility as humans in this world to do what we can to rectify the situation, to bring peace to the situation, to bring a resolution to any conflict, whatever we can. Right? We can't always fix the big problems of the world, but as we're living our everyday lives, we see here, we see there, smaller conflicts, smaller situations that need help of a person to get involved, to bring a resolution, a peaceful resolution to it. That could be us, right? And that's the way that we should live our lives, right? These stories of the Torah are not just stories, they're lessons for us. That's why they're in the Torah, that's why they're in the Hebrew Bible, so that we can learn from them and we can learn to improve our lives and improve the world as a result. All the best, my friends, and be well.